This is the work that we must do as nations. These are the partnerships we must forge as an international community. And these are the standards that we now must meet. Yet even as we're guided by the commitments that we make here today, let me close by stating the obvious. Resolutions alone will not be enough. Promises on paper cannot keep us safe. Lofty rhetoric and good intentions will not stop a single terrorist attack. The words spoken here today must be matched and translated into action, into deeds, concrete action. Within nations and between them, not just in the days ahead, but for years to come. For if there was ever a challenge in our interconnected world that cannot be met by any one nation alone, it is this: terrorists crossing borders and threatening to unleash unspeakable violence. These terrorists believe our countries will be unable to stop them. The safety of our citizens demand that we do. And I'm here today to say that all of you who are committed to this urgent work will find a strong and steady partner in the United States of America. I now would like to resume my function as President of the Council. And I will now give the floor to the other members of the Security Council. One earlier in the day, President Obama addressed the 69th meeting of the United Nations General Assembly. In that address he stated, "Terrorism is not new. Speaking before this assembly, President Kennedy put it well: "Terror is not a new weapon," he said. Throughout history it has been used by those who could not prevail. either by persuasion or example. In the 20th century, terror was used by all manner of groups who failed to come to power through public support. But in this century, we have faced a more lethal and ideological brand. Of terrorists who have perverted one of the world's great religions. With access to technology that allows small groups to do great harm. They have embraced a nightmarish vision that would divide the world into adherents and infidels, killing as many innocent civilians as possible. Employing the most brutal methods to intimidate people within their communities. Barack Obama. Address at the United States of Women Summit. Delivered June 14, 2016, Walter E. Washington Convention Center, Washington, D.C. Can you please give it up again for me, Kyla Ulmer? What an amazing young lady. I will be back on the job market in 7 months, so I hope she is hiring. I was just told backstage, when she was asked to introduce me, there were some folks who were organizing this amazing event that said, is she going to feel a little nervous speaking in front of 5,000 people? And so they asked her and she said, oh, no, I just spoke to 11,000 last week. So we were looking backstage, she was on her tippy toes with her entrepreneurial self. So I know you're really here to see Michelle. Or Oprah. Actually, they're together, so you're here to see both of them. I cannot. Compete with them. But I did want to stop by and make one thing very clear: I may be A little grayer than I was 8 years ago, but this is what a feminist looks like. Of course, in my household there's no choice. It is great to be with so many friends. One of my first acts as president was to establish the White House Council on Women and Girls. Led by Tina Chin and Valerie Jarrett, and they've worked with a lot of you very closely. We're so appreciative of those of you who helped not just make this event possible, but have guided a lot of our thinking across our administration. We've got some outstanding members of Congress, of course, including my dear friend and one of the finest speakers we've ever had, and hope to soon have again. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi. And I want to thank all of you who worked so hard to make this event happen. Because this is an opportunity to reflect on how far we've come, and why it is we've got to keep going. It was almost 100 years ago that Alice Paul and her fellow suffragists were arrested for picketing outside the White House for the right to vote. Today, women make up more than half of the electorate. For the first time in history, a woman is a major party's presumptive presidential nominee. Because of all of you, over the past 7 years. We have significantly improved the lives of women and girls not just here at home, but around the world. And I could not be prouder of what we've accomplished. I want to talk about why it matters, and why we've got to do more. Some of you may know that on Friday, my older daughter Malia graduated from high school. And I sat in the back and wore dark glasses. And only cried once, but it was I made this weird sound because I was choking back and people looked at me. People sitting in front of us turned back. And then I suppressed it. But I was thinking about how she is graduating at this extraordinary time for women in America. The year I was born, in 1961, women made up less than 40% of college students. Today, you earn almost 60% of college degrees, make up roughly half of the workforce. Back then, the pill was still illegal in some states. And today, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, birth control is free. In the old days, women actually needed a husband to open a credit card. Today, more women are choosing to be single and all Americans are able to marry whoever they love. "54 years ago, Katherine Johnson did the behind-the-scenes math to put a man in. Orbit. Today, almost 60 women have blasted into space themselves. When I was growing up, fewer than 300,000 girls played high school sports. Today, because of Title IX, more than 3 million girls are on the field. Women are leading America at every level of society, from Hollywood to Silicon Valley. From the C-suite to the federal bench to the Federal Reserve. And that is progress. It's real and we have to celebrate it, but we also have to remember that progress is not inevitable. It's the result of decades of slow, tireless, often frustrating and unheralded work. By people like Dorothy Pitman Hughes and Gloria Steinem. Who is here today? People who opened our eyes to the discrimination, both subtle and overt, that women face. People like Pauli Murray and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who insisted on equal justice under the law. People like Wilma Mankiller and Patsy Mink, who redefined what leadership looks like. And, yes, people like Hillary Clinton who've raised the expectations. Of our daughters and our sons for what is possible. In other words, our progress has been the result of countless ordinary women and men whose names will never be written into the history books or chiseled on monuments. But who dedicated their lives to ensuring that America lives up to its promise of liberty and justice for all. What's also true is that despite all that incredible progress, we are living in a time of great change, a time where people are economically anxious. Unemployment has dropped below 5%. Wages are growing again. But while we've made progress in narrowing the gap between rich and poor, it is still too big and the trend lines. Because of globalization and automation, are still upon us. You hear politicians peddle the fiction that blocking immigrants or cutting off trade or big government are all to blame, but we know what the causes are. The rise of global competition, the weakening of the labor movement and participation in unions. The automation of more jobs, the race of technology, all these trends have the potential of leaving workers behind. They let a few at the top do even better. And we see some of those divisions not just between groups, but within groups. There are women who have never had more opportunity. But there are a lot of women who are still stuck in the toughest of economic circumstances. There is an important reason that so many working families feel like the system is rigged. And it's because the economy hasn't caught up to some of the enormous changes that have transformed America over the past 50 years. Those days when the average family was a dad who went to work every day and a mom who stayed. At home and did all the unpaid labor. That's not what our economy looks like anymore. Household and work arrangements come in all shapes and all combinations, and yet, our workplace policies still look like they're straight out of Mad Men. I will tell you, a lot of the problems that cross my desk are really hard to solve. If they end up on my desk, it's because other people couldn't solve them. But this issue of how we support working families, the policies that we could put in place. That would make a meaningful difference. Here we actually have solutions right in front of us. Just as we know what the problems are, we know what some of the solutions are. We need equal pay for equal work. We need paid family and sick leave. We need affordable childcare. We've got to raise the minimum wage. If we're truly a nation of family values. We wouldn't put up with the fact that many women can't even get a paid day off to give birth.